This time I'll call the meeting to order of the August 21st District Governing Board meeting of Solano Community College. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
President Honeychurch.
I'm here.
Trustee Cargo Reed.
Here.
Trustee Kara.
Here.
Trustee Lopez Lara. Here. Trustee Thurston. Here. Trustee Young. Trustee Voice.
Here.
Student Trustee Shreya Sravasan. And I'm here.
We're on to item number 4, which is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Agenda is approved. Are there any requests to speak?
No.
That's item 5. Now we will move into closed session, so we'll take a recess until 7 p.m. the mic. There was no action taken in closed session. Are there any requests to speak on the public comment section? No. Next reports, item 10, Associated Students. Good evening.
Hi, everybody. As a report from the Associated Students, we had our first meeting yesterday for the first semester, which was really great. Great to see some new faces on the Senate. Many of our senators left last year. They graduated, and so we're trying to fill up our new Senate with some fresh faces, and we're really excited about the discussions we're having, a lot of them about the vending machine and just what this new semester will look like, making sure that resources are accessible to students. So likely at the next report, you'll hear a lot more about our new ideas and innovative ideas that we have for this semester, but make sure to stay updated on what we're doing because we have many ideas for this year and we'd love your input. But that's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Any questions? No. All right, we'll move on to Academic Senate. Good evening, Joshua.
Good evening. So we had a wonderful convocation, which you may have, I know some of you attended, which is fantastic. Really enjoyed getting to see all of the students during some of the orientations, and the auditorium was just packed, right, as for the convocation itself, and it was wonderful to welcome in Dr. Butler as a new superintendent president. I really enjoyed working with her over these last 2 months, month and a half, whatever it's been here so far. And then one of the things we did prior to convocation is we had a Senate meeting, as we usually do, the day before convocation, and in the morning we were really talking about sort of goals that we had for the year. And one of the big goals that we really identified is continuing to really do work to make our Senate and our faculty as a whole a very welcoming space to really brainstorm and think about ways to make sure that we're getting real representation in all the different senses of that word. We also, in the second session, we met with administration and the senators, really talk about dual enrollment. I think I mentioned some of this to you at our last meeting, and really wanting to make sure that we are targeting students who can most benefit from it, who are disproportionately impacted, who really kind of fulfill the larger vision of it. And we've seen and we talked about some of the real benefits of dual enrollment to students, but also really wanting to make sure we do it in a thoughtful way where faculty and academic deans can really be part of the conversation about how it's played out, and that we're making sure that there's real training and professional development for the faculty, and that we can really think about what the logistics and the dynamics can be in the classroom as we are really serving adults, but also making sure we're serving high school students mindfully. We already, and so we're hoping to continue to work with early college and think about CPACs, right, these agreements with local high schools, and also continuing with special admits with students coming in. We also have been talking about and really finalizing work with a department chair pilot, which I've talked about a little bit. That Solano College is one of the few community colleges in the state that have not historically had department chairs, and we've really seen certain gaps there, I think, because of that, right? Especially even really developing your own real sense of community as faculties, making sure that we are mentoring new faculty, that we're having the types of professional development that will really serve the departments and then serve the students, making sure there's liaisons with administration to work on program review, things like this. And so we're really grateful to have been in a process with both the faculty association, the union, as well as administration, in an interest-based bargaining approach to really pilot a process that we're going to implement this year. And those, I'd say, are some of the big things that we're working on right now, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your report. So we'll move on to the College Governance Council and the Superintendent President's report.
The College Governance Council hasn't met yet. They will begin meeting next week on August 28th, so I will have a report at our next update. I do have a report to read for the Superintendent President's update, and so I will share that. We've had a successful fall semester launch. We had a strong turnout for Flex and Convocation. I was able to share my personal story and 5 guiding principles that will hopefully guide our collective efforts here at Solano Community College as we're working to empower students for success. I highlighted the 5 guiding principles: restoring equitable enrollment, which we have received, we already met that goal. So that was really great. Ensuring fiscal sustainability, achieving equitable student success outcomes, prioritizing the well-being of students, faculty, and staff, and deepening community outreach and engagement. The first week of classes was full of activities. I want to share gratitude for our faculty, our staff, administrators, and our students who worked together with us to create an inviting welcome for the first week. It was full of positive energy. Our enrollments are looking good. As of Monday this week, our student head count was 9,500, over 9,500 students. And our equivalent student enrollment, FTS, compared to pre-COVID numbers that was just reported out by VP Williams, we're up 5%. So we're looking really good. A few highlights from the beginning of the semester. We hosted several student welcomes, a Falcon Welcome Day, welcoming students back and giving them orientation, an athletics welcome orientation, welcoming back some of our athletes, and then an orientation for new athletes, a Black student orientation and mixer, and a Black students family barbecue, which was really fun. We've hosted a new faculty orientation and welcome for our new full-time faculty hires that occurred prior to Flex. The college also hosted a welcome back pancake breakfast, Falcon Flapjacks, which was really nice. And both our centers, the Vallejo Center and the Vacaville Centers, have also seen an increase in traffic, so it's really been a good start to the semester.
Well, that's good news. Thank you. Now it's on to item 11, which is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and or removed. Time will be provided before the vote for clarification questions without removing an item from the consent agenda. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Anyone?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. There are no items removed. We're on to item 13, which are non-consent agenda items, action items, first of which is item 13A. It's a resolution to appoint the official representative to the North Bay Schools Insurance Authority, and Sal Abate is the presenter.
Thank you, President Honeychurch, members of the board. This is a resolution to appoint the board members to our North Bay School Association Insurance Authority. Our alternate has retired, so we needed to find somebody else to take that person's place. This is a great training opportunity for people to learn about insurance and how our joint powers authorities work. So we're bringing this resolution forward to appoint the alternate.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the item? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 13A.
I'll second.
Thank you for both the motion and the second. Are there any? Yeah, right, it is. Any questions on the matter? If not, please call the roll.
Trustee Voice,
Aye.
President Honeychurch,
Aye.
Trustee Kara,
Aye.
Trustee Cargo Reed,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Laura,
Aye.
Trustee Thurston,
Aye.
Trustee Young, Student Trustee Srinivasan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on now to item 13B, which is under the title Finance and Administration, and it's a contract agreement with Ron Duprat Ford for diesel trucks, presented by Vice President Susan Wheat.
Yes, thank you, President Honeychurch, members of the board. We're asking that the board approve this contract for 3 diesel vehicles for our auto tech program to give them more items that they can work on to learn how to use those vehicles. You'll see that in there, 2 of the 3 vehicles already have over 100,000 miles on it. So this gives them a lot of experience in order to gain that expertise.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this contract agreement with Ron Duprat.
I move we approve this contract agreement.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this contract agreement with Ron Duprat Ford. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C is approval of revision to Board Policy 3700 bookstores and sunset of Board Policy 3710 regarding income from bookstores. So can you tell us about this?
Yes, this was presented at the last meeting for the first read. We're bringing it back for a vote. I wanted to bring some additional information that was asked at the last meeting to kind of give you some ideas on that. You'd asked what kind of income we have from our current contract with our bookstore. The commissions vary a little bit depending on what they're selling. It's about 7.5% for course materials. When they first presented their contract, it was actually higher, and we actually had them go down so that percentage went to the students instead. And then there's a different percentage for merchandise. The contract also calls for $10,000 in scholarships, textbook scholarships, and $10,000 in a general donation that they make to the college. Other than the scholarships, it goes into a local fund labeled bookstore, and we can use those funds for many things. We can use them to help increase our no-cost, low-cost textbooks. We can use it to do any remodeling or modernization of the bookstore. Right now, we don't have any plans for it, but it's there for us to use if need be. In 23-24, the commission from the bookstore was about $62,000. So it's a fair amount of money that we have that we can use to help benefit our students. You also asked about no cost and low cost textbooks. For the fall semester, our no cost textbook courses are numbering at 170 courses, and our low cost textbook courses are 37. That is about 22% of our total courses.
All right, thank you. Questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the revision to Board Policy 3700?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the revision to Board Policy 3700. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, we're on to item 13D, which is presented by Lucky Lofton. It's a contract award to Optima Inspections Incorporated for project inspection services for the Fairfield Campus Building 1400 Modernization Phase 1. Lucky, are you available?
Thank you, President Honeychurch, members of the board. Yeah, this is for inspection services for DSA required inspections on the 1400 door storefront, the door replacement project for 1400.
Right, any questions to Mr. Lofton on the item? Is there a motion to approve it?
I think the 13E also is for the same project, so I'll motion to approve 13D and E.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there anything, Mr. Lofton, is there anything you wanted to add on item E, which is the contract award to Arthulia Incorporated?
No, this is just our ongoing work to upgrade our facilities, both in infrastructure and appearance, and this is just the continuation of that effort.
All right, thank you. So there's a motion and a second to approve items D and E. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Next is item F, which is a contract award to Optima Inspections Incorporated for project inspection services for the Fairfield Campus Building 1600 Modernization Project.
This is for, again, DSA inspection services. We are required to have a direct contract with our DSA certified inspector, and this is that contract for this project.
All right, is there a motion to approve the item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right, it's moved and seconded to approve item 13F, which is a contract award to Optima Inspections. All those in favor? Please say aye. All right, thank you. Opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us to item G, 13G, which is presented by Vice President David Williams, who for some reason is in charge of helicopters.
Yes. Thank you, President Honeychurch and members of the board. I bet you didn't know we had a helicopter. That's how I get to the meetings so quickly every night. No, we have our aeronautics maintenance program, and they have a helicopter that they've been working on for a number of years. We have an opportunity to trade that for an upgrade, more modern helicopter that will provide our students with experience on more modern helicopters that they might be seeing. So this is sort of like a three-way trade between another college and another company. So it's no cost to us. So we're asking for your approval.
All right, is there a motion to approve the helicopter exchange?
I'll make a motion to approve 13G.
All right, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to approve item 13G, an assets exchange of helicopters. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item is number 14, which is information items. No actions required. And there's a proposed or a presentation by Vice President Susan Wheat regarding the 2024-25 district budgets.
Yes, thank you again. This is the first reading of the proposed adopted budget for 24-25. Remember, we had the tentative budget back in May. We will bring this back to you at our next meeting for the public hearing and the vote, but I wanted to present to you kind of some highlights on the proposed adopted budget. So just as a refresher, most of our funding comes from the student-centered funding formula, and we get paid, or we receive that income based on three different sections. Our basic and FTES, or the base section, the supplemental allocation, and the success allocation. So I wanted to break those down for you for Solano Community College. Our basic allocations, just under 11 million. That's the basic based on the number of centers we have and our size of our school. And then our FTES allocation is just over 37 million. The FTES allocation will change as we do our annual calculation for last year, because it's and as we do our P1 and P2 for our enrollment for this year, because it's based on current year numbers. And then we have our supplemental and success allocations, which are about 7 million combined. Those amounts and allocations will change also as we do that annual certification from last year. That's really small. Give me a second. So our supplemental allocation is based on three different areas: the AB 540, the supplemental Pell, and the supplemental CCBG, which is our college promise grant. So based on the number of headcount that we have in each of those areas, that's how we get that supplemental allocation. And then if we look at the student success allocation, it's broken down into several different areas. A section is based on all students at the college. And then a section is based on, Pell Grant recipients and Promise Grant recipients, kind of like the other ones. For all of our students, it increased from last year by about 5.34%. So it's based on a 3-year average. However, the average for last year, since it hasn't been calculated, is based on the prior year. So that's why these numbers would change. But from 21-22 to 22-23, it increased about 5%. For Pell Grant students, it increased almost 10%. And the Promise Grant recipients, it increased almost 7%. So you can see kind of how our success leads into additional revenue for their college, so that we can do more for those students to even increase that even more. As we move into a time of uncertainty with the state budget, I want to just, remind everybody with the small things that we can do to help prepare and save those resources. And like we just talked about, that student success, the more student success we have, the more income we have. So we can focus on that. We can focus on safety around campus, reducing our liability, reducing claims, and reducing insurance costs. We can look at using categorical funds or those restricted funds prior to using our general fund, and we do that all the time. And then just being smart about our spending and our hires. So as long as we keep these in mind as we go through the future, we're already in a good spot. This will keep us in those good spots. Make that a little bit bigger. So this is our unrestricted revenues. Although it says actual for year to date as of the end of the fourth quarter, there was still some updates and some journal entries that we were doing to get prepared for the audit. So these may change as we get all the way through that process. This was actual at the time that we did this. So not budgeted amounts, but actual amounts. So between the temp budget and the adopted budget, it is just under $2 million more than what we anticipated in May. That's due to the COLA and some increases in the projected unrestricted lottery and EPA funding. That's this number right here. It doesn't circle. Oh, it does, but you can't really see it. That may change as we get more information as the state does their thing, especially with those EPA funding. We all know from past experience that they have promised EPA funds and then not provided it. So I will be cautious as we move forward with that as well.
EPA, you're referring to the 2.5, right?
Yeah, the 2.48, yeah. Okay. And then if we look at our expenses, let me make this a little bit bigger also. Bring this over. Again, we're looking at the unrestricted fund. So we see a little bit of the increase in the academic and classified salaries from the temp budget to the adopted budget. That's because we look at the actuals at the end of the fiscal year from last year. When we do the temp budget in May, we don't have all of those actual figures, so they're still projected. Once those actual figures come in, then I can actually do a more accurate figure that we need for those salaries and benefits. It is down from 23-24, and that's because we did that one-time payout for the surplus that we had the prior year. Small increases in our supplies, materials, and other operating services, just as we get started in the new year and have new needs. I'm hoping that those other operating services go down a little bit as we get our solar up and running and turned on. I'm always looking forward to any time that we can save money, and that's a huge one for us. And we still have in here too, and that other outgo is a contribution to our OPEB liability. If we need to, we don't have to make that contribution, and I will make that, we can discuss that and make that determination as the year goes on, as we get more information from the state as well. There's also a contingency in there that we like to put in there every year, just to kind of keep us safe. The Pell Grant, or the Pell Administration, and the BFAP, those numbers increased because when we did the temp budget, we didn't have carryover numbers yet, so these include the carryover numbers in there. And we'll go on to our fund balance. So it's nice is when we did the temp budget, we are expecting a higher deficit spend for 23-24. It's down, and actually by the time we finish our audit process and the final numbers for 23-24, the deficit spend is going to be even less, which will increase our beginning fund balance for this year. Right now, we're anticipating a deficit spend for this year. Last year was the first year we actually had one since I've been here, even though I've planned for it every year. I'm hoping that everything goes the way that we hope it will go for this year. But again, we're planning very conservatively, so we are still planning for a deficit spend for 24-25. 1.8 million of that, remember though, is coming from the reserves, the salary improvements that we did in 22-23. that we're taking from the reserve over a course of 5 years. So that's part of that. When we look at our ending fund balance, we have the potential technology capital non-capital expense reserve. We took that from the surplus from that year as well. We have the STRS and PERS premium reserve that we have not had to touch yet, so that's there. And then we also have the OPEB liability designated reserve that we haven't had to touch either. With our 5% required reserve and that stability reserve, we were looking at about 21.6% during the temp budget, and now we are looking at 22.4%. Again, with our beginning fund balance for this year increasing, I know it's going to be increasing because I've seen the numbers that we're still working on, that will go up even more. And then I gave some outlooks for the other funds. The details are in the actual budget. Sorry, it's going too fast. Fund 12 is our federally restricted. It's when we do the budget, it's a zero-based budget, so the revenues equal the expenses. It's about $873,000 for just our federal funds, and that's higher than the temp budget by about $20,000 due to carryover. Our state restricted funds is just under 41 million. And again, that's higher than the temp budget because we now have those carryovers and the new allocations that are coming out for this year. Fund 14 is our local funds. This is where we have such things as we have a wireless tower that we get a lease from. That'll go into this fund. The bookstore revenue that I talked about earlier, that goes into this fund. Again, it's a zero-based budget, so revenues equals expenses, even though we know that we're not going to expend all of that this year. That fund's based on that zero-based budget. It is a little bit lower than the temp budget, just as we closed out the year and finalized everything. We have a couple other funds. Our Child Development Fund, our Capital Outlay Fund, and our Measure Q projects. The biggest one that changes from time to time is that the Measure Q projects fund, because we close out the year, but we're still doing projects over the summer, so that one will get adjusted as we move forward and finalize the end of last year. Use a different tactic to go to the next one. We have a student body center fee fund, and this is from a portion that the students pay. There's a small fee that they are required to pay. It's part of Ed Code. We can't not let them pay that, but they have that, and they can use that to do upgrades for their things or to use it for expenses for their needs, separate from anything else in any other funds. Our financial aid fund. It is higher than our temp budget by amount of $1 million, which is always good. And then the student body ASSC and club fund, it has an ending balance by about $414,000. This will get updated as well, and ASSC will actually bring their own budget to the board for review. And I believe, yes, that is it for my presentation. Again, we'll bring this back at our next meeting for the public hearing and for the vote, but I'd be happy to answer any questions now. But for right now, it is just for informational purposes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So for the, I noticed that for the Equal Employment Opportunity Program, it looks like they decreased our available funding by quite a lot.
They did, and we knew that was coming. How we just got notification this week that they are. Now I'm gonna mess up my numbers. I want to say that they're keeping it the same as last year, or they're trying to. At least the overall funding of it. Each district may be getting a different amount from last year because they're trying to equalize it across all of the community colleges. But we are still getting funding for that. But that was one of the few ones that actually took a decrease.
Okay, yep. And then I know we have a pretty large increase in our supply services and equipment. Is that just from returning in person?
A lot of that is, a lot of that's for, equipment repairs that we may need to do. It's for maintenance contracts. And that can include maintenance contracts on the biomanufacturing stuff. Those are quite expensive for those maintenance contracts, but it's all those little things. And I'm hoping that that actually comes down when we're able to turn our solar on in parking lot 2 and get that energy taken care of.
And then for the unrestricted, is the 1.8 that we pulled out for the one time the majority of the 3% dip in the ratio? In the reserve?
In the ratio from
The stability reserve ratio?
it's from the majority of that, the dip in it is really from the deficit spend from last year versus this year. That's where the big part came into. Again, that's going to change once we have those final numbers. I want to say it's about $1 million less, $750,000 less than what the deficit spend is. I don't want to get quoted on that actual number, but it's significantly lower than what it is here at the time that we did these. And so you'll see that beginning fund balance and ending fund balance change, which will increase that.
And then last one, I promise. For the restricted fund 14, I know you had mentioned we are a zero base budget on that one, but I do see that our the expenditures went up quite a bit from 24 to 25.
I'm gonna pull the detail up in it. So, nope, wrong one, wrong page.
It's on page 17.
Yeah, page 17 of the budget. It went down by about $1 million from the temp budget and went up quite a bit. A good majority of that are grants that we get that aren't state funded grants, and that makes a big difference in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm interested in the student-centered funding. Can you go over the student success allocation again?
Sure.
It was a little bit too quick for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring it back up.
The student success allocation. But before you start, can I ask you why there's a downward arrow on page 5 under improve student success? Does that mean we're actively working towards not improving student success?
Oh, no, that was just ideas. No, that was just ideas. I was trying to make it pretty.
Okay. Next time, could we put it up?
There we go. I'll
Thank
do that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So on the student success allocation, let me actually go back up 1 page, 2 pages. So when we look at the student success allocation, it's based on an average of 3 prior years of data. When they say data, they don't always get the data in real time. So when they're looking at our allocation, our estimated allocation for this year, the data that they have from last year isn't accurate yet. So they're using actual numbers from the prior year, which just means that they have to change those allocations. We know our success rate went up. I'm not worried about that part of it. It'll actually probably increase as they get those final numbers in. But it's based on how many associate's degrees for transfer you have, how many baccalaureate degrees that we have, how many credit certificates, our transfer level math and English, transfer to a 4-year university, 9 or more CTE units, and then it's also based kind of on our living wage in our region. So when we look at Solano Community College, this is the 3-year average that the chancellor's office is calculating. Again, it's not accurate because they don't have last year's numbers in there yet. But as of right now and what they're using, for our students, the top part is for all students. So it doesn't matter if they are a Pell Grant recipient or College Promise recipients. For all of our students overall, we had 304 average per year associate degree for transfers, which equated to $900,000. We have 554 associate degrees, which translates to about $1.2 million. So they look at all of these over a 3-year average. It also helps that we're coming out of those COVID years, right? And so these 3-year averages are actually increasing to our numbers currently, which is always helpful. And then they have the Pell Grant recipients, and they go through and just for our Pell Grant recipients, we get a little bit extra money for that. And these are the breakdowns based on that. Like we had out of the associate degrees for transfers, out of those 304, 119 of those were Pell Grant recipients. So we get additional funding for that. And then if we go down, just looking at the Promise Grant recipients, out of that 304, 193 of those were Promise Grant recipients also. And so we get extra money for that. So if we look just for associate's degrees for transfer, it's about $1.1 million just for that piece of it. But that is a way to help us understand where we need to kind of get better and how that student success rate is so important, not only for our students, but for future students as well.
When I joined the board, that was when the student success formula got added. And then we had the years of hold harmless. And now we're beyond, and then we had COVID, and now we're kind of sort of.
We are beyond hold harmless,
Yes.
yeah. We actually got out of hold harmless early, which we were one of the very few districts that got out of hold harmless early. And so we're able to see the benefits of the actual student success allocation and not based on numbers that we had prior.
Is there any way that we can measure our success vis-a-vis other community colleges? What I'm trying to establish is, for me, these numbers are, I'm grateful for these numbers, thank you, and any success is gratefully accepted, but it's very hard for me to actually understand how we've done over time.
How it compares
because
to
I don't
others.
see that. But also, I'd like to measure us by comparison to other community colleges in our area, because I think it makes sense for us to see how well we're doing by comparison to our competition too. I mean, I don't know if that's of value, but for me, it makes me think that, you know, there's something that we're doing right, or maybe something that we're not doing as well as we could be doing. I'm just putting that out there that maybe we can think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can definitely put something together. I'd want to be careful comparing us to another district, right, that may have a different number of students overall. So their numbers are it's gonna look off.
Yeah.
But I can put something together that gives us FTES, so you can kind of see that comparison and make that. It'll take me a little bit, but I can definitely do that.
I understand. I don't want to dump more information, more problems onto your slight shoulders, but what I would like to, I just need to be able to understand what's going on in a way so that,
would
because
you
that's
like,
really important.
Yeah.
And if you look at the numbers, I mean, that's our smallest sort of like chunk from the state. And I'd like to have that as the biggest chunk from the state.
Would you like that sooner, that I can have
No,
Dr.
the next
Butler,
time
when I do my first quarter budget
yes,
update?
yeah,
Absolutely,
that would
I can
be-
have that ready
I
for you.
think that's fair enough
Okay.
for me. I just want, and maybe if we can keep those numbers going so that we actually, see it in, and I know it's not in real time and we have to kind of like judge, but it gives us, it keeps us sort of on target and understanding what our real job is here.
Absolutely. I'll put a spreadsheet together that I'll present at the first quarter budget update, and then we can incorporate it into the adopted budget or the tentative, probably the adopted budget on a ongoing basis after that. That spreadsheet will already be there, it'll be easy to plug in that 1 year and go forward. So absolutely.
There's an old joke about a company that met and it was a dog food company, and it was, we have the best marketing, we have the best packaging, we have the best whatever. Why are we the worst in the market? And someone in the back room said, because the dogs don't like it. And what I'm trying to establish is making sure that what we have is a product that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we want to know, I mean, I'm proud of these numbers, but I want you to feel that as well. So absolutely we can do that.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I just want to say, I think, to piggyback off of what she's saying, especially since, you know, members of the public also I think that will help simplify to have that comparison because your numbers are great, especially since what we were looking at last year and with not knowing what the numbers were going to be for this year. So I agree. I would like to see that scale as well, and it will help the public because we are making a name for ourselves, but we just, we want to expand. We want to make sure that we're also being able to appeal to the underserved, citizens of Solano County and surrounding areas, because this really is a unique college. In fact, I didn't even know about the helicopter until about 5 days ago. So yeah, see, I'm coming up to speed a little bit. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you putting that together. This is amazing.
Yes.
I have, is there anything done at the state level that would do comparisons between community college in reference to what Trustee Carr said?
So that's where I'm
Because
going to
they have all the experts there, they have the computerization. They
Yeah,
put the data in a machine and able to give us comparisons if we request it.
I have a dashboard that I can go to. I have to pull it and put it in a format that's easy for us, so it's not too convoluted. But yeah, I'm getting the information from the
Okay.
state chancellor's office. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, any other
Excellent
questions?
report.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Vice President Weed again. So at this time, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is announcements. Are there any announcements? Hearing none. Oh, go ahead. You have an announcement.
Yeah, just two small announcements. So one is that I will be attending a conference this Friday in DC called Let's Talk About Sex, where I'll be presenting on SEC and what we've done here in terms of the Reproductive Health Club, how we've expanded in such a short period of time, and I'll be bringing back a lot of experiences from people across the nation about their experiences with reproductive health and hopefully coming in with new ideas. The second announcement is that AB 229 has passed appropriations in the Senate, so now we're off to the Senate floor, and so just your continued support is grateful. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Next item is item 16, items from the board. Are there any items from the board? Trustee Boyce?
Thank you. At the next meeting, Trustee Cargo-Reed and I would like to bring forward a resolution to recognize the Prisoner of War and Missing in Action Day of Recognition in end of September. That will give us an opportunity to fly the POW MIA flag as well. And so we've been chatting about it this weekend, so we'll try to put together by the September 4th meeting.
All right, well, thank you for that to both of you. Any other any other items from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the board meeting tonight.
I second.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Do you know how many dates you
I've
have
signed
adjourned this
everything,
one?
yeah.